In fact, while attending graduate school at DePaul University, I hear, Chasten, you might have been found dancing the night away at Holiday Club. And then wrapping up the evening at the IHOP just down Broadway. I have had the pleasure of meeting Mayor Pete on a number of occasions. And he has confided in me that he, as he dashes, between campaign events and his duties as a mayor, Chasten often has to pick up after him at home. Right, Chasten? Well, Chasten, when you become first gentleman, you and President Buttigieg will have a lot of cleaning up to do in Washington. Chasten has also made his own mark across the country while actively campaigning for his husband. I've had the pleasure of chatting with him just recently at Hamburger Mary's with my mother about the important issues, particularly in education, particularly as an educator, which we share in common interests. Chasten, you and Mayor Pete have brought so much intelligence, warmth, and love to the campaign trail. Thank you for your positive message that you and Mayor Pete bring to America. So it is with great pleasure that we welcome back home to Chicago the first future gentleman of the United States, Chasten Buttigieg.
Thank you very much. I have been racking my brain for days trying to figure out exactly what to say to begin this evening. I'm going to get into a little bit of my personal story and just how marvelous this moment is. But I think we start this evening with a toast. Because we're alive. Happy Pride. For these in my day. Thank you for a warm welcome back to Lakeview. I've been frequenting some of my old haunts today, and it is nice to just be back in this neighborhood and be back in a place that shaped me. Thank you very much, Brian and Jill, for your kind words, and Representative Feigenholtz and Robinson, thank you so much. For your support, for believing in this project, for believing in Peter, for believing in this moment. I always get a little emotional in these things, right off the bat. Oh, you got the steak fries. So my name's Chasten. I grew up across the lake. I grew up in northern Michigan, and I grew up in a place where the only safe place for me was a bar called Sidetrack. And I have been warned multiple times today to make sure that S is only applied to Traverse City. So I grew up in Traverse City, and I came out when I was 18. And I'm going to try to be really short on monologue today, but I came out because I wanted to be true to myself. And I got to a point in my life where I felt like I either had to live my truth or I had to continue lying. And I just felt like it was going to eat me up. So I came out, and it wasn't easy. And spent a lot of time in my car or on the floor of friends' apartments or on their couches. and had a period in my life where I just felt like there was no future. That even as I started in college that fall, spending many evenings sleeping in the back seat of my Saturn, I couldn't focus on academics, I couldn't focus on friendships, I couldn't focus on anything but the thought that surely I'm not going to make it. And I thought it was only a matter of time. So it is with deep emotion and gratitude and pride that I stand in front of you today, not only as someone representing my husband who's running for president, but just as a gay person who survived. And it's a pleasure to be here. I made my way to Chicago. I thought I wanted to be a teacher. Hopped around in Chicago public schools. Found my way to Metal Horse, where I spent a lot of time. Spent a lot of time right there in happy hour. And just about the time I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to become a full-time classroom teacher. I'm going to enroll in a graduate program. I fell in love with this really cute guy over in South Bend, Indiana, who really threw a wrench into a lot of plans. They always
made you a computer.
I am. Look, I'm here. But I'm getting very used to the wrenches being thrown because I left the classroom this year, and I thought the least I could do was to show up and help Peter in this moment, to travel the country, to meet people, to give people hope, to meet them where they're at, to invite them to the table, to listen to their stories and spread a message of hopeful politics. A politics that returns to everyday, a politics about other people's lives. And so that is what I'm doing, traveling the country. And I want to tell you, just as someone who is invested in this project, who is invested in this campaign, you are giving so many people hope. You are saving so many lives by continuing to invest in this project that spreads visibility and love and hopefulness around this country. So thank you just for investing in that. I wish I could scoop you up. I wish I could take you all around the country with me and sit you down at those tables so that you too could look into the eyes of those teenagers that we're meeting with and hear their stories and hear the way that this campaign has affected their lives. I wish you could see them grapple with the fact that someone is sitting across the table from them, representing a presidential campaign and telling them they matter. And watching the hope fill their face, and watching the color kind of come back to them when they realize that we are there offering them a seat and a hand up and telling them that there is a better way and that there will be a president and a first gentleman in that White House very soon that cares about them, that believes in them. We're all part of that. Listen to it. I hope you keep paying attention. This campaign has changed so many lives. It's touched so many lives, and even my own. I grew up in a place where politics was the thing that happened to me. It was not something that I was interested in. It was not something that I thought would inflict change on my life. I surely thought I wouldn't make it out. I never thought I'd get the right to marry. Never would have thought that I would see a gay man run for president, let alone be married to him. Miracles happen. And I'm so glad we're here. But there are a lot of places in this country, and for a lot of people, for millions of Americans in this country, politics is still the thing that's happening to them. And it is important that we show up and we offer them something new, especially a politics that's rooted in every day. A politics that's truly about how it will change our lives for the better. And I'm happy to be out on the trail with Peter spreading that message and talking to people, but mostly listening to people about what they need. And so rather than talk at you tonight, I'm looking forward to answering all of your questions. So if you want to know more about me, go to the internet. Follow along on Twitter or Instagram. You can learn more about me personally that way, but I really want to know what's on your mind. I want to answer some questions and make sure that we spend as much time together answering the things that that are moving your head. So come on back up. Let's do this. Yeah, we can take a drink real quick.
How many?
Oh, yep. How many of us can say if you want to know about us, go to the internet?
I'm not
or that. So we collected questions from people coming in and in advance of this event. So Chasten has not seen these, so these are fresh to him. So let me start. What would you do? What would be your priority as first gentleman?
Sage first. And then rolling my sleeves and actually doing something for the young people of this country, because that's the thing. That's the thing when I travel the country and I meet with young people, they just really need adults to show up for them. They really need someone to look them in the eye and say, I care about you, you matter, your life matters to me, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that you feel like the White House cares about you. So I don't know, I haven't figured out what the policy platform would be, etc. Because mostly I'm focusing all my energy on this moment right now, that we have a tremendous opportunity right now in this campaign to do good work for people. So I'm just really excited for the opportunity to get to the White House, to throw those doors open to the White House and invite people back into the people's house. It's the people's house. Part of being offered that tremendous opportunity to serve the people of this country is doing the work for them. And too many people in this country are hurting and feel like that house does not represent them. So while theater education and arts education is the thing that saved my life, I can definitely see, I feel like I am already a staunch advocate for it, out on the trail talking about the importance of not only supporting teachers with paychecks, because not only do they deserve a pay raise, but there's so many other things. So I just want to get in there and do the work, actually show up for people and do the work. And Musical Mondays.
So, Chasten, Lamont talked a little bit about the Douglas Plan. And I know the campaign has had a concerted effort to reach out to communities of color, in particular African American communities. What have you all learned in this process, and how can supporters of the campaign help continued outreach and learning?
Sure. So I think the most important thing for Peter has been to listen to people, and especially when you are in a place where you are unknown, or in a position where you don't know all the answers. I think it's best to listen instead of going talk to people and tell them why you're the best person, the best candidate, the best campaign. It's important to invite people to the table and have them tell you what they need. And I think that spans across many communities. So I think something that Peter has definitely learned is just the importance of time at a table with people or in a room with folks, listening to them and helping them shape this campaign. Because I think at the end of the day, it's not just about having a campaign that will win. I think it's about having a campaign that deserves to win, right? Yes. And in that process, you just have to do the work. And so Peter is very largely unknown. He's still at 50 to 60% unknown name recognition. And I think part of that is just going to communities where you're completely unknown, offering them a seat at the table and listening. And he's been doing a lot of that. You don't see a lot of it in the media because a lot of those meetings are closed to the press, they're closed doors. He just wants to get to know a community, and that's with activists and faith leaders. And I have been in those rooms as well. And that's just, I think, some of the most beautiful work of politics. It's just putting a hand out or offering a seat at the table and say, you tell me, what do you need? And that's what I've enjoyed doing as I travel the country as well. I spend a lot of time with LGBTQ centers. I was at Center on Halstead earlier today. Homeless service providers and teachers, and I say, what do you need? What do you need from your federal government? And tell me how I can be, at service to this campaign and to you when we're in the White House.
This week, obviously, climate change has been on the top of everyone's mind, among other things. What is your personal commitment to end the climate emergency that we're facing?
My personal
Yes.
commitment? So I think it's on all of us, right? And I think a way that we can approach this is not don't carry all the doom and gloom on your own shoulders, right? Like we're gonna solve this together. But you know, in our life, we've made very small commitments that I think we can all do. So I bought a new car 2 years ago. I bought a hybrid, not life changing, right? Or, you know, groundbreaking. We made commitments in our house to conserve energy the way we. So geeky. Like the thermostat, we install a right to monitor our home when we're away because we're spending a lot more time away from home. Right, we just make all these little choices. And that's the thing I think folks should understand, right? If we all make minor changes to the way we live our lives, we can all change, right? So I'm trying also to get Peter on this thing I'm calling being a flexitarian. So I'm just gonna choose to not eat meat Monday through Friday. But if I'm myself a flexitarian, but I fall off the wagon, I don't feel guilty about it. But we can all just make these small changes, right? And then I'm also, you know, I wouldn't like chalk it up to saving the world, but I think it's also important that we elevate voices of people who are also doing other work and perhaps more work than we are, which is why, you know, the smallest thing, like tweets can inflict harm, right? And that's something that this president has done such a great job of, right?
The only great job.
Harming people and, you know, getting everyone to focus on what he has to say on this platform. And then when he says something so demeaning and awful and divisive, people elevate it, right? Which is why I actually like being on Twitter. Because if I can do something so small, as in like talking about how great I think Greta Thunberg is, I want to make sure I'm helping elevate her voice too, because I'm definitely not doing as much work as she is doing, right? So I want to make sure I'm showing up for her too. And then part of just being part of this project is making a space where you feel like people belong and people can share their ideas and come together in a bigger project, something that's looking at, you know, actually sewing together, re-sewing the fabric of this nation back together. And so while, yes, I commit to, you know, not eating as much meat, and yes, I bought a plug-in hybrid, and yes, I try to take my reusable bag to the grocery store, right? And I changed my thermostat, and I've done all these teeny little things. I'm also going to try to make sure that I'm like actually elevating other things through this political process as well, which is also still really new, like realizing like, I guess I'm sort of a politician too now, right? Your voice has weight, and so I'm going to try to make sure that I use that voice for good.
People really want to know, do you and Pete have a favorite musical? I know there's somebody out there who's saying better not say it.
The most political question.
Yeah, it is. It is now?
Oh, man.
Someone's about ready to stomp their foot.
Yeah, well, it's been fun. Good night, everybody. I think Pete's Pete's favorite musical is me singing show tunes in the shower. So currently, Pete's probably been hearing a lot of like Back to Before from Ragtime. That's my song of the week. But I did get a chance to take him to Hamilton recently. Come From Away, which he I try to choose a musical that I feel like, you know, nerdy, geeky Peter can like enjoy a little bit more. So, but I love that Peter has learned so much from me when it comes to arts education, and he listens intently, right? And I talk about how, I wrote my thesis on this in grad school when I was at DePaul, and I created a curriculum, and how the arts can change people's lives, and how much good comes out of arts education. And so I love watching him out on the show, talking about arts education, and why it's important in schools. So every school deserves a prize.
You covered a lot of bases. You're really safe with that one.
And I never answered the question.
There you go. It's training is really
I'm learning.
Last question. Last question.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Pete is now more of a public figure than he has ever been. what do you wish more people knew about him that they don't already know?
Okay, well, you're gonna have to ask me another question, I guess. Because we're gonna go to another place. I've told this story a couple times, and I'm glad I have the platform to tell it. When you watch TV and you watch social media, I think politicians answer like the same 10 or 20 questions over and over again, right? And you don't get to learn a lot about them. And even these last couple debates, something I've been annoyed with, is I'm sitting in the audience and I'm not learning anything about anybody. And I'm thinking about it going back home, it's not learning anything about anyone. And so you don't get the opportunity to know the man that I love. You really don't get to learn about what makes that man so special, right? Maybe you get to see him talk and act and politic in a certain way that you like, but you don't really get to look behind the curtain, right? And the thing I love about Pete is there's no facade. He's the same guy at home and on the trail, and I really respect and admire him for that. But you don't really get to see the ways in which he is so loving and so caring. And I really wish that people could feel the way I feel being with this person. When I met Pete, I was at a pretty dark place. Well, we've all been in those places. Out of a relationship for a couple of years. I had been in some pretty abusive relationships. Just kind of got to the point where you're like, maybe love isn't in the cards for me, right? And you give up hope. And I met Pete, and I kind of just put it all on the table for him. I wasn't interested in continuing a relationship and continuing going on dates, and especially continuing driving this up. To sustain a relationship that wasn't going to go anywhere. And so I opened up to Pete very quickly in our relationship. I said, look, I'm pretty broken. And, when I came out of the closet, it wasn't easy. And I picked myself back up, right? And when I allowed myself to open up to love, I was sexually abused. And when I allowed myself to open up to love again, I was in a verbally and physically abusive relationship. And here's where I'm at in my life. And that's not rare. It's not rare for a lot of us. The ways in which Peter was so patient and loving and gracious with his time and his words, and the ways in which he just made me feel so whole again. Life-changing, right? Affirming. And I want that for everyone. I want you to have that feeling, and I think you deserve a president who truly loves you, who truly cares about you, who thinks about you at night, right? Who thinks about how he can make your life better, how he can make sure that we all get to that place where at least we feel like we've been put back together a little bit, right? And that's this moment in American politics that, so many people are hurting, and so many people feel left out, and so many feel broken. The ways in which I felt broken when I met him, and I know he has it within him, and he has the ability to make people feel loved and to make people feel put back together. And I just wish you could see more of that. I hope you get more chances to see just that beautiful human. And now you're going to do rapid fire, and I'll try to answer them. That's the biggest thing right now. I know. Okay,
Not for the pressure here. Well, let me build up that note of love a little bit then.
Okay. Category is.
The category is love. How have you fallen in love with our country in different ways as we come over the trail?
This is what I love. Watch me do this political thing. Right? Like, your question. the thing I love about Pete and the thing I love about mayors is he gets it, right? He gets the change agents and changes happening at a municipal level, right? And traveling the country and getting to meet people to see what they're doing in their cities, and seeing the work that they're doing on the ground is amazing, right? We lose hope. If you watch cable media all day and you're just looking at your Twitter feed all day, right? This country is pretty roughed up right now, right? But then I get to travel to communities, and like I told you, I spend a lot of time with LGBTQ service providers, homeless service providers, teachers, and kids. And you watch and learn and hear from people who are doing amazing work, you know? And just the people that I've met who are doing the work, right? And they're not paying attention as much to, you know, what this guy is saying in the White House and how focused he is on tearing us apart, because they're showing up and they're doing the work for one another. You know, we were in Reseda, California, having dinner with dreamers whose parents are still out working in the fields, right? And they work in the fields in the morning, you know, at 6 a.m., and then they go to college and they're getting, you know, their first generation college student getting a college degree. And they're just showing up and doing the work, right? And you meet these teachers who, you know, have caseloads by the hundreds, right? And any teachers in the room, by the way? Give them a round of applause, please. They show up and do their work, right? And so I spend all my time, I try to spend as much of my time in rooms with people who remind me why politics is important, why it's important to do the work for them, because they're doing the work sometimes for the most marginalized people in this country. And it gives me hope, because people are focused on doing good work for people, and that's what this campaign is about, and that's what I want to make sure it remains about, is showing up for everyday people and trying to change their lives for them. Awesome.
Thank you. So let me end with one point and then two calls to action. So I think it's so clear why we not only would be lucky, but I think we would deserve to have this man as our first gentleman. So I'm going to ask you two things. The first thing is, there is a small little community slightly west of here named, I think it's pronounced Iowa?
Just there this weekend.
Don't wake up in mid-February and wish you had gone out once. Actually go out, go to the campaign website, knock on doors, make phone calls, do something. Make a commitment to do one day a day in Iowa. If Chasten can drive to South Bend, we can drive out.